Hey everyone, welcome back to our off-market investor challenge. Today we're talking about maximizing your markets risk-free or expanding into new markets risk-free. And this is really about what this comes down to. It's really about having your disposition strategies and exit strategies really on point and lined up. So with that in mind, we brought on three of the absolute best in the industry. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves kind of one by one, and let you know what their focus is, and you'll get an idea of the overall picture of how we're going to be able to help you dispo the leads that you're generating. So Daniel, why don't you kick it off and introduce yourself since you're going to be the first speaker up.
Yeah, 100%. And just a quick intro, Mike. Not jumping into anything just yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay, guys, what's up? Yeah, I'm the co-founder of InvestorBase. So we are a relatively new disposition software for wholesalers. So we'll jump into the software here in a second, but excited to share some knowledge on what we've learned on the dispo side of things. You know, we've had the opportunity to onboard about 2,500 wholesale companies in the last 17 months. So we've learned a lot about what's working, what's not working. So we'll try and share some good value there as we go through this today.
Cool. And Jimmy, you're going to be up next. You guys are also a great partner for Launch Control. So give us just a little background about you and the company.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Jimmy Quigg. I'm the acquisitions development manager here at New Western. For those of y'all don't know who we are, we're an investment real estate marketplace essentially. So we're just a place where buyers, sellers, investors, wholesalers like yourselves, agents, everyone comes to buy, sell, and transact investment real estate through us. What I do particularly with the company is just drive acquisitions to our marketplace through the agents that we have in each market. So yeah, I mean, that's who we are, what we do. We're currently the largest buyer in the country. We buy and sell a deal about every 13 minutes. Been around since 2008, and largely we'll get into a little bit about it, but largely we're just based off of building relationships, and helping people expand and grow all over the country.
Cool. And yeah, finally, Bobby, why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know what you're doing for Offerpad?
Yeah, Michael, thank you for having me. Everybody, it's great to meet you. My name is Bobby Triplett. I'm the Senior Vice President of Renovation for Offerpad. We're a publicly traded iBuyer, and my team, we buy, renovate, and then we resell thousands of our own homes every year. And then for the last couple of years, we've been renovating on behalf of many of the investors who are tuning into this, many of the folks, the wholesalers that are wanting to take down some deals. And it's been an awesome relationship building experience over these last couple of years. And so excited to share a little bit about how we can possibly help everyone maximize their new market expansions.
Perfect. So yeah, guys, before we kick things off, I'm just going to kind of give everybody a little insight into the conversations that the four of us had when we were really brainstorming this event and kind of putting it together. And the idea the challenge that I came to you guys with, and where I thought you could be really influential for our audience, is a common problem, and it's a great problem to have, but a common problem that we'll hear from the Launch Control user base is their lead generation that they're doing through us or through Launch Leads, our done for you service, is generating such a high volume of leads that they need to then see those deals that they're getting under contract. They need to see those through to completion. And so they're taking their time away from lead generation and discovery calls with the sellers, and they're focusing their time on transaction coordination and then disposition, right? And so the time and effort it takes to close out those deals that they have in pipeline, and during that time span, the pipeline is slowing down, if not just going cold, right? And so what we want to do is plug them in with the right disposition partners so that they can keep that very focused attention on discovery calls and converting sellers into contracts, and let your guys' expertise kind of run with it so that they're able to dispo really fast and on a scalable level. So, as we talked about, Daniel, for you guys, I mean, if they're looking to they've got a deal, it's a clear fix and flip, you can click the button in app in Launch Control, which you're gonna go over, and connect directly to InvestorBase, find a buyer in real time, and then turn back to their lead flow pipeline, right? So it's all a streamlined process, which is amazing. For Jimmy, for you and your team, again, which is integrated into the app, it's just a one button click. If they're in a market and they feel like that market's getting saturated, or they're just ready to expand and scale out, and they're looking to move beyond their at-home comfort zone, they're not going to have boots in the ground in these new markets. They're not going to have the realtor, title company, buyer kind of connections in those markets. And so if you want to reduce risk, working with your team who has boots on the ground, I mean, it's a perfect solution for very quickly scaling up. And again, without taking your focus off of those seller conversion calls. And finally, Bobby, what I think that you guys do is incredible, because every single investor I know wants to transition from having a cash flowing machine to a passive income portfolio, right? It provides safety, it provides that long-term wealth building and equity, and your team can help them take some of these fringe level like deals that they have coming in. It might not be a clear fix and flip, might be more in the innovation space, or might be close to turnkey. They could work with your team and get that portfolio project stood up almost overnight. I think they're going to be shocked when they hear the turnaround times that you're able to deliver for them. So between that, there's all these different exit strategies that they can take without diverting their attention from that core pipeline is incredible. And so I'm really excited to hear you guys kind of talk about your expertise and get into it. One of the things that we wanted to talk about, though, first, just at the beginning, I'm only going to take a couple of minutes here, and then I'm going to hand it over to Daniel, is making sure that you're minimizing the amount of time that you need to spend on the front end, right? Because again, where we really, really want your attention is on seller calls and converting those into contracts, right? So if you're out and you're running launch control and you're setting up batches and you're doing all of the work yourself, you're, again, taking time away from that core activity of closing deals, right? So the easiest thing to do to keep your pipeline flowing is to outsource your outbound marketing to our team, to Launch Control. Let Launch Leads run it for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to do done for you text engagement. We're going to take your data strategy. We're going to send out all of those text messages, tee up warm conversations, and then we're going to do a warm handoff to your team. So within 5 or 10 minutes, you guys are going to be on the call with that ready to talk seller, converting deals. Once you convert that deal, then you're going to plug into the disposition strategies that we're talking about today. Rinse, repeat, right? And we're expanding the Launch Leads program to include a direct mail integration and a cold calling service as well. So you're getting all of your active and passive marketing bundled together under a single service that's going to be able to run that full lead generation pipeline for you. So again, all you have to do is focus on converting deals and getting that dispo done, and just really, really scaling up the deal flow of your company and, your wealth as an individual. Do you guys have any kind of questions about that front end side of things before I hand it over to you for the dispo discussion?
Take it away, man.
All right, awesome. So Daniel, I'm going to hand it off to you. Actually, I'm just going to put this up real quick. If anybody wants to get some more information about Launch Leads, you can scan that QR code there, or everything will be in the show notes below. And that's true for every speaker that you hear today. Anything that you miss on the audio run through, just check the show notes below. We'll put links to everything. And then finally, if you just want to connect with our team and get started with Launch Leads, even if you're a Launch Control subscriber already, you can just upgrade that. If you're looking to come in fresh, talk to our team, get set up on the platform, and then we'll add in the service as well. All right, so Daniel, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I'll take this down and you can take it away from there. And then while that's getting put up, for everybody listening, if you have questions throughout, we'll try to get to them in real time, but just populate those into the chat, and then anything that we miss in real time, we'll get to at the Q&A section at the end. And then, that's it. So Daniel, you are up. Let's get into it. InvestorBase.
Yeah, perfect, man. Thanks, Michael. And thanks for inviting us on here. Like, we got an awesome panel here. I got the chance to know Bobby over the past few weeks. Freaking awesome quick turn time renovation companies that you'll hear about, which is Epic. There's nobody in the country that does more deals than Jimmy. So literally, for a fact, they are doing a deal every 13 minutes. That is absolutely absurd. Excited to be here. We're a newer software. We are a dispo software, as you see here. But before we jump into this, I kind of want to relate to everyone and give a little bit of my background. So we had a wholesale firm that we operated, and we were selling to institutional buyers for about a year and a half. We scaled extremely quickly. Michael, we actually used launch control, and I think we got a $12,000 assignment fee in the first 30 days. So we were like, all right, well, we just bought, the next 5 years of launch control. So we're locked in on this. But everything was going great, man. We got to, 4 acquisition agents in house. We had an office in downtown Charleston, 20 cold callers overseas, about 10 deals a month is where we got to. And if anybody was operating in 2022, you remember when rates went up, Bobby, your institutional guys, man, y'all all pulled out on us, and we got the rug pulled, and so we were in a really tough spot, man. We had 30 deals under contract at that point in time. I terminated 13 deals in one day, and so we looked out there at our options for essentially finding buyers, because we'd done 125 deals and we had never sold a deal to a local flipper landlord, not once. So everything was reverse engineered based on these funds that were paying, 110 to 120%. And so we looked at our options and we said, well, yeah, we can JV deals, right? And we had to, for the ones we had under contract. Sometimes you need to have that quick go-to option to let somebody do your dispo for you, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But for us at scale, it didn't work with the amount of money we were spending in marketing and the acquisition guys we had to feed. So we quickly turned that off. And the other options was a very expensive marketplace model. And then we had the ability to build a cash buyers list. So we started to build this quote unquote cash buyers list, which was the craze of the industry. And it's like how everyone does it, right? You go out and you pull, a cash buyers list based on, who has bought a deal for cash or who has bought a property for cash. That is the criteria. And there were so many slippages in the data. It was an 8-step process for us of, scrubbing, scraping, paying to skip trace. And so ultimately there wasn't an option that worked for us. And we found that worked for a lot of people. And so I say all that because we've been through the different phases of a wholesale company, right? As the one-man show to the guy doing 10 deals a month. And ultimately InvestorBase truly did save our business at that point in time. So what InvestorBase looks like today is we're a dispo software. It has a lot of acquisition implementations. But what we give you access to is essentially 10 million buyers. This is nationwide access. So there's no geographical limitations to this. So if you want to jump in a new market, it's very easy to do that. If you get a rural lead, like it happens to all of us, regardless of if you have a niche list that you pulled, great for rural deals. But what we're doing here is at InvestorBase, you run a search, which I'll show you in a second. But we are producing real buyers based on real transactions. Okay, so this isn't a quote unquote cash buyers list. The only way that you can become a buyer in InvestorBase is if you have actually done a flip or actually bought a rental property. Okay. And what this does is this filters out, the owner occupant who may have just paid cash for the house, right? This filters out, the fake buyers and the daisy chainers and all those people. You can only get here if you are actually doing deals. And that's the people, when you get a launch control lead, that you want to be talking to. You want to be talking with real buyers to prioritize your time. So the rest of the stuff, free skip tracing. You do not pay for skip tracing with us. AI smart match. So we identify who's most likely to buy the deal based on their transaction history. We have investor comps that will essentially tell you what a buyer is likely to pay for your deal based on comparable as-is sales. So Michael mentioned if you go into your launch control account now and you just click on the lead, you click on the InvestorBase button, it will literally take you to, hey, what are flippers and landlords paying for like kind properties? So before you even make an offer to that seller, let's make sure we're offering the right amount and we're offering under what flippers and landlords are actually paying, right? We get that confidence interval that, hey, this is a good going in price that we need to go at, because Jimmy, you can touch on this too. And Michael, you as well. And I'll kick it back to you just for a second, but the number one reason for terminations is you tied it up too high. Like 100%, you got title issues, you got the seller backing out, you got a variety of things, but it starts on the acquisitions front, man. So getting ahead of that, that's what a majority of our user base is running their leads through the software now, which is surprising because we're a dispo software, but just some of the analytics in there are great. So building your buyers list, you can create listings in there to share your deal. But Michael, I know you were about to jump in there.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is I kicked this off. To be fair, I kicked it off talking about the speed of play, right? Of you being able to, like, you've teed up a deal, you got it under contract, and being able to very quickly source a buyer. But what I think is actually the most invaluable thing about the partnership between Launch Control and InvestorBase is the strategy side of it, because InvestorBase will tell you everything that you need to know about what people are buying in your market and for how much. And that will inform your strategy of what you want to go out and target through Launch Control, right? Because if you can go out looking for a specific deal within a specific buy box, and you're locking it up where buyers are going to buy because of that pre-research that you did, or that research you did ahead of time, that's where the speed is going to come from. Strategy is going to give you speed, and it's going to give you peace of mind, because every deal that you lock up, you're locking that up. Not saying, I hope, saying, yeah, I know. I've got the numbers in front of me.
Right. Now, 100%. It starts on the acquisition front. So this is an extra layer to get that confidence interval, that you are at the right price, you're offering the right amount. And it's really hard in new markets. In our business, we jumped between 10 different markets within like 18 months. We were being psychos because we were chasing guys like Bobby that were paying, 150,000% of ARV, which it worked for a little while. But it was so hard for my acquisition guys. They're like, man, this looks like a deal. And I'm like, yeah, it does look like a deal based on, 70% of ARV minus repairs, minus whatever. But we didn't realize that people aren't paying 70% of ARV in, Nickel, Texas, or wherever the hell we were. It's like, you need more analytics on some of that stuff. So that's been a huge help for a lot of the wholesale companies that we serve. And what I'd say, regardless of the deals like volume that you are at, there are a lot of different components that would help you with InvestorBase. We have the people who are doing 30, 40, 50 deals a month, to the people who are just getting started and trying to build their buyers list. More often than not, people come to us and they're like, man, I need to build my buyers list because, I've been doing a manual process for forever. I'm paying for too many softwares, or I've been JVing, a lot of my deals, and I want to give it a shot, to get 100% of it. And I can just tell you, I'll show you, let's just jump in right now. I'll show you, we'll run a quick search and then we can actually run another search. But when you come to InvestorBase, you type in an address, span the radius out, press search. Not lying, it literally takes, 5 seconds. And let me pause that. What we just did, that was really fast. Change the search radius. You can put it out 2 miles or up to 10 miles. Change the time parameter. You can change the buyer type up here. Change the property type. Turn on skip, trace, and save. Press search. The blue icons are going to be a fix and flip transaction. Green icons are going to be a buy and hold transaction. So just like that, we just produced 139 results for buyers that have actually done deals. Okay, so we identify the transaction, and then we identify the actual person that did the deal, and then give you their phone number, right? And then we AI rank them. So the ultimate result of that, guys, is you can make less calls, you can send less text, you can send less emails, and get the same results, if not better, from making 20 to 30 phone calls as you would if you were sending 10,000 emails or 1,000 texts, because we're prioritizing the buyers that you should be reaching out to, right? that assumption is because, Bobby or Christopher here, bought a rental right around the corner from me recently. It's literally the same square footage. They paid 75% of ARV. That's someone that I want to talk to. Right. And so it's right here for you to come and just make a handful of phone calls, and speed to the lead there. Right. Let the rest play out, but you scroll through all the results. You have your investor comps number right here that tells you, hey, somebody's most likely to pay 405, and you can dive into that. You can download this list, pop it in an SMS campaign, email campaign. Yeah. So it's been good. If you are interested in InvestorBase and what we have to offer here, this is a link to just get $100 off the first month. We have grown like crazy, but one thing we prioritize is making sure that when you come in, you know exactly what to expect, you know exactly how to get the most out of the software. So that's why we recommend booking the call with us first. And this will give you $100 off that first month. So Michael would happy to keep going, and we can talk actual strategy and stuff. I don't want this to be, all about, the product itself, because we have learned a lot on the dispo front. So if you have any questions to prompt, I guess with the last couple minutes.
I think what we'll do is we'll let Jimmy jump in, because that really sets the stage well for that, that buyer that is, or excuse me, not buyer, that investor that's running their own shop, building up their team, or kind of looking to just add a ton of efficiency to their core markets, right? Mm-hmm. So like being able to just close a lot more deals with the leads that are coming in, and close out a lot more deals. And also, like we said, with strategy, kind of refine your processes so you know what you're sourcing when you're doing your outbound marketing, right? Mm-hmm. And then, Jimmy's going to be able to give us, as we talked about in the beginning, the ability to just take that efficiency that they've gotten between launch and InvestorBase, and then start to expand it even more into markets that they might not have boots on the ground in, or might not know much about. So let's have Jimmy and Bobby kind of go through their sections, and then the four of us, during the Q&A section, we kind of prompt each other with some questions and see if we can get a few more details towards the end. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Okay, cool. So if you want to, yeah, perfect. And then Jimmy, if you want to go ahead and put your slides up, you can take it away and run.
Okay. It said that I'm trying to share. Can you not see it in your?
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Nice. All right, man. Michael, I can't believe you have me going on after Daniel. That's fantastic. So clear communicator. Everything like that. Good job on that front. So, let me just jump into it real quick. I can tend to be really long-winded. I'm a talker. I'm a handshaker. I tell people all the time. So I'm gonna try to make this as brief as I can, but just kind of highlight, all the advantages of working with New Western to dispo your deals. So I'm just gonna start out simple. What you can expect from us. I already told you who we are. We're a marketplace. For investors, wholesalers that would be using launch control in this sense, really the best way that you can think about us, how you can view us, is essentially a built-in disposition sales team in the 30+ markets that we're in. It's already up, going everywhere we're at. We're a licensed brokerage. We have actual brick and mortar with a full team of licensed agents that just do nothing but like live, breathe, and sleep like finding and putting together deals with investors. So it's really just plug and play as far as disposition goes with us. So what to expect from us is, obviously it's an easy process. Like I said, it's plug and play. We connect you with an agent whenever we actually, and we'll talk about it here in a second on the next steps. But once you're working with Michael and the guys at Launch Control, to find these deals, we actually also have a button there in app with those guys that you can click on, and it will route that deal that you're working on to an agent in the corresponding market to that deal, a new Western agent that's trained and understands, okay, these are coming from someone with launch control. They understand what's going on, and they're immediately getting on the deal, starting to underwrite and get in communication with you, so that y'all can talk about the specifics of the deal, what you're looking to do in that market, all those good things, so that we can go ahead and quickly get on the process of getting that deal dispoed for you. So, easy process. That's something that you can expect from us. The second thing is that I put up here is a lasting relationship. By design, we work in volume. Like we've said a couple times on this call already, we're buying and selling a deal every 13 minutes. So, we're not looking to make $1 million per deal. Where we earn our living is in the volume that we do. And so for us, by design, we value the relationship that we can build with you to help you grow infinitely over any one particular deal that you're going to send our way, because we're not looking to make $1 million per deal. We don't want to buy one. We don't want to dispo one deal for you. We want to dispo 1,000 for you. Right. So a lasting relationship is something that we're looking for and that you can expect from us. Obviously that the next bullet point here, clear communication. I've talked to my agents all over the country all the time. And, one of the biggest, obviously, indicators of building lasting relationships is clear, concise communication. And what that means is, yes, we do, it started out on the last slide. It said automate your dispositions, where we want to basically take care of that whole process for you, so that you can focus your time on finding your next deal, so that you can scale either in the current market you're in or start to move to new markets. But we don't want it to be like, okay, give us the deal, like hand us the baton, we'll see you at the finish line. With us, we want to say, hey, hop on our back, we're going to carry us to the finish line here, right? So now you can have your time open up to focus on what you do best, and that's talking to sellers, getting deals under contract, and bringing the deals to our marketplace. So with that being said, the last two things, and I kind of want to touch on them simultaneously here, of what you can expect from us working with New Western, is because they kind of coincide with each other, is pricing guidance and then also boots on the ground. I know they've been mentioned a little bit earlier on here. Daniel, you hit the nail on the head, man. I can't tell you how many times I'm on the phone with a wholesaler that's bringing us a deal, and I'm explaining to them, like, the most important thing to understand with getting a deal dispoed is understanding that there's a difference in contracting a house and contracting a deal. I mean, really, that price of where you're locking this thing up is, if you're doing that correctly, then you're going to be miles ahead of the competitors in the space trying to move the same deals, maybe talking to the same sellers, things like that. With us, like I said, we're a built-in plug-and-play dispo team for you. Everywhere we're at, we have agents that are doing that high volume in that market, so we can actually see in real time, even more so than pulling comps and all the things, we can actually see in real time kind of what the market is speaking to a particular deal. And to kind of elaborate more on that example, so I can't tell you how many times a wholesaler may bring me, or even like an agent, anyone, I keep saying wholesaler, but investor who's trying to offload a deal that they feel like they've locked up too high, anybody, they're bringing me a deal that, they're like, they're so confused. They're like, man, on paper, this thing makes sense, and you look at it and you run the comp, and our agents are all, like I said, they're licensed, they're using the MLS, they're using the most up-to-date real-time comps in their market. They're only working their one specific market. And you take a look at the comps, and then you run the formula, the 70% minus the ARV, or 78%, whatever the investors are paying for in that market. And you're like, man, on paper, this thing, it makes sense, to sell this thing at 200. Like the formula's there. This number makes sense. But what you don't understand, and what we understand from the volume that we do, is that, we've probably picked up 10 deals in the last 6 months in that neighborhood. And what's happened is we've probably picked them up at a certain price, and then got the investors in, got the numbers back. And it's like, man, we actually haven't been able to get an investor to give us an offer on a similar deal in this neighborhood over $180. in the last 6 months because the market's just kind of cooled down maybe on that neighborhood. So you look at it, even you're looking at the comps and you're like, man, this makes sense. But realistically, the market has shifted a little bit for one reason or another, right? And we can really kind of see that in real time with the volume that we do. And that's really where we bring a lot of that value to the wholesalers, investors that come to us to get a deal dispoed is that pricing guidance. We can see things and underwrite more in a deeper way. And then the boots on the ground just correlates with that, right? It's a built-in team. You may be in Tampa and you may have like bought into launch leads in Nashville, and now you're getting all these leads in, these deals. You're talking to sellers, and these sellers not so prevalent as it was before COVID, but certainly getting back to it where I'm seeing more and more. Sellers want a warm body in their house before they lock something up, or maybe photos that they have. One of our agents may see something like, man, the photos look great, but honestly, we need to go put our eyes on it. And you're not, you're in Tampa. So our agent will say, hey, get me access. I'll go out there. I'll be the face for you to the seller. I'll walk the property. I'll inspect it, personally, and then get you that information back, take photos, get you those photos back to help you be equipped to get that deal dispoed. So that's kind of the process, and the things to expect from us and what we bring value wise when you're trying to dispo a deal. It's just, again, it's plug and play. So we're in, we'll move it to the next slide. Kind of your next steps here. You pick a market. That's the first one. I think the topic of this panel today was about expanding into new markets. So if you're a wholesaler, again, maybe you're in Los Angeles and you want to, you're thinking, man, that Phoenix market looks good, but it seems a little bit tough, can kind of be oversaturated, things like that, but I want to give it a shot. You get with Michael, get with launch leads, get that stuff going. You can work with Daniel. And then, what's crazy is Daniel and those guys, they're nationwide, which I want to kind of almost take a second, go on a tangent here and just kind of highlight something that Daniel touched on, and I'll forget it if I don't highlight it right now, but he talked more about like rural leads and things like that. I think that's killer. I think that's a huge advantage to people using your platform, Daniel, because rural areas can be tough to dispo. And a lot of times, if you don't have that strong market presence like we do, and it's an hour outside of the market, and investors in that city center aren't really wanting to get there, those things can be harder to move. A lot of times our agents are from the areas around their thing. Me personally, like I'm in Dallas. I started with the company over a decade ago as a Dallas agent. I've moved deals into more rural towns simply just because I was from the area and I knew the people there. And so unless you're there and you're doing that, like it's very tough to move a rural deal. But with InvestorBase, being able to basically drop yourself into that smaller community and see the people that are actually investing in those smaller communities, I think that stuff is fantastic, Daniel. So I just wanted to highlight that before I forgot about it and went on a tangent.
Yeah, it's inevitable you will get rural leads.
Yeah,
Michael, you get lists sent to you that you're marketing to, and it's like their mother's cousin has a house, but it's on the other side of the country. So produces a lead, right? So
yeah, exactly. And it's there's less people, by design. It's a smaller population. There's less people willing to buy those deals, so they can tend to be a little bit more easier to contract, to find, right? Mm-hmm. And so to be able to actually dispo those is great, and that's something that we also can help with. But again, that's awesome. It's great to hear, Daniel, that we're talking to put our heads together too and things like that. So that's a really killer platform you guys have built over there. So next thing is, so you've picked the market, you've got your launch leads, they're coming in. The next step is just send us the deal. Send us that first deal. Again, it's easy. There's a button in the app. You click on it. You're routed directly to who you need to talk to at New Western about that particular deal. They'll get in contact with you. You start talking to that local agent that we have, the boots on the ground in that market, and you begin to build that relationship. That's step 4. You're building the relationship with them. You're talking about the deal. You're laying kind of the foundation of of the future. Because like I said, we want to do 1,000 deals with you. And then, through the process of everything I covered in the last slide, we get the deal locked up. We get a buyer put in place. We jump through the 100 hoops it can take to get a deal, because we all know that have done these deals before. Just because you get an investor contracted to a deal to close, it's like sometimes the fun's just beginning, because it can take a lot to get them to the finish line. And just to touch on getting our investors to the finish line for you and taking care of that, it just goes back to, again, us actually having a brick and mortar and licensed agents there. We've got about 200,000 investors actively buying from us in the marketplace. And, when I say 200,000 buyers, I don't mean like 200,000 emails are in our system. I mean, active, have a relationship built with one of our agents in the market, actively been vetted, proof of funds, a lot of times checks on file with us to be able to move very quickly. And, our agents, once they get that buyer locked up in the deal for us to move to close, a lot of times they control the keys. They kind of hold these guys to the table to make sure that they get there. And, anybody who's ever dispoed on your own know that, buyer's remorse is real. And, people kind of can get, just like somebody mentioned earlier, sellers can try to back out of deals. Sometimes buyers get a little bit nervous, and, we're experts at taking care of those situations and getting those guys to the finish line. And then once we get that first deal done, it's just rinse and repeat. I mean, after that, again, we're just building the relationship. We want to multiply the deals for you. We actually, we benefit from you growing, because the more deals that you move, the more money you have to pour back into your marketing, more launch leads and things like that you can afford to scale up. I mean, I have wholesalers that I've scaled from doing 5 deals to 60 deals in a single market. I have wholesalers that we've scaled from 1 market to 30 markets. I mean, already, the proof's in the pudding. It's as simple as once you have your strategy, once you have, the front side, as far as like lead gen and getting, the process of getting these things under contract. Once you have that all figured out, I mean, you literally just hand us the baton and we carry it to the finish line for you, and then we scale it. Because again, by design, we're a marketplace, so there's no amount of volume that we can't handle. So, that's my spills. So I hope I didn't get time.
No, Jimmy, that was great. And I want to stress something that you and I have talked about. We've done a couple of in-depth sessions on the launch New Western relationship and how people can take advantage of it. And one of the things you and I always go back to is that people shouldn't be looking at this, investors shouldn't be looking at this as a one-off solution, right? This isn't like, I don't know what to do with this deal that came in from a market I'm not that sure about. Let me go to New Western. This is about setting up systems that pay off, right? So like there are a lot of ways you can do this, but here's an avatar idea of a way, when I look at it, what I think people could do. Let's say that, they've got their team and their systems that are in check, working really well. They're doing a lot of their dispo through InvestorBase with Daniel, and their team is locked on, super efficient there, right? And you don't want to disrupt that flow, but you do want to move into new markets, right? So you only want to do it with like taking limited resources away from your team or limited time away from your team. So what you do is you take, all you need is one VA and a decent acquisitions rep or good acquisitions rep, right? And then I'm gonna throw it back all the way to our first workshop that we did in this series. Ty Garrett was on from DataFlick, and he was talking about a feature that they have where they're looking into new markets, and you can see within a given market, down to the neighborhood level, how many investor deals were done in those markets over a given time span, right? So you can set a clear prioritization of markets that you would only text versus those that you would text and direct mail, because the likelihood of conversion is much higher, right? So you look at DataFlick, you come up with that strategy, you give it to the VA, and you go, once a month, I need you to pull 20,000 records. I need you to pull 10,000 records. Then you outsource that to Launch Leads. Have Launch Leads run all of the outbound through text and direct mail, manage all of that for you, push warm leads to your acquisitions rep. Your acquisitions rep locks up the deals under contract, and you just tell them, push everything in this market to New Western. Work with Jimmy and his team. Everything that comes through, everything you get under contract, push it to them. If you need to refine it based on their buy box, refine it based on their buy box. And we're going to do a quarterly review of this pipeline. You two are going to run it, right? You're going to pull data once a month. You're going to let launch leads do everything. You're going to field the inbound calls, and you're going to let Jimmy and his team handle disposition. So all we're doing is we're spending, maybe 7 hours of staff time a week on this other pipeline, right? So how much did it produce in Q1? Oh, we got 5 deals out of it in Q1. We made $125,000. Well, that paid for itself 10 times over. Let's ramp it up and do some more volume and see what we get out of it, right? So you're ramping up volume, but you're not really ramping up time. You're not really ramping up commitment. And you have to do none of the really heavy market analysis. You don't need to have a local agent in the sense of like boots on the ground, people that you know in that market. You don't have to have buyers that do deep buyer research. That's all handled by your team. So you're plugging in different outsourced tools to get that result of just a plug and play system that drives deals in a new market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly right. That's the play. I mean, Michael, I feel like every single time we see each other, we have some form of conversation around the fact that, like, that's kind of where, it seems like the industry's going, is that more and more people are finding ways to automate the different processes of doing a transaction so that they can afford to do more and gobble up more of the market share in our industry. Because, it literally comes down to efficiencies, and when you can build out that front to back, process for yourself that just works and it's efficient, and now you're not even worried about it. It becomes more so, where's the next deal? How am I going to get the next one done? To, okay, where am I going to build this next pipeline? And it's just all business development at that point. We're just pouring it in everywhere that we can. So
where am I going to go on vacation while my process is just producing money and I'm
right. Yeah, that's
out
absolutely
enjoying the life.
That's right. So again, I just want to touch on real quick at the end of this, the best way to get us a deal, the most efficient way to get us a deal, is to go through Launch Control's app using the button. It routes it to the exact right person. It's the smoothest, easiest way to get a deal in the right hands and get someone with New Western on your deal as quickly as possible. But I wanted to throw up a little QR code here that will actually route you to my personal inbox here with New Western, in case you don't have a deal yet, but there's just some more questions, maybe something that doesn't get touched on today or in a couple days here on, or something a month down the road, you have a harebrained question. You're like, oh, I wonder if they could help with this or whatever. If you'll use that QR code, that'll direct you directly to me, and I can get you squared away.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, like I said in the beginning, for everybody watching this on a replay, or if you are watching this on a replay, also check if you miss any of this, the contact points, just check the show notes below or the workshop notes below, and we'll have everything there. All right, so Jimmy, I'm going to take you off the stage, and Bobby, I'm going to put you up.
Rock and roll. Let me see how. If I can get
Jimmy,
this.
I think that beard gets better every time I see you. You're muted. But...
Rookie move, talking while muted. No, I appreciate it, though. I'll tell you, fun fact, it took me forever to be able to grow a beard. My dad's had one most of my life. I was always so envious of him. So I was finally able to start growing one, and I just did it.
It's impressive, man. It's impressive.
Love it.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for having me on. Like I said, my name is Bobby Triplett, and I run the renovation division here at Offerpad. Just a little bit about us. I said earlier we're a publicly traded iBuyer, which means we buy thousands of our own homes, and then my teams renovate them, we resell them. We are in 25 markets, 15 states around the country, where we're those MSAs that we're in usually take about an hour, draw a circle around, and we're hitting everything in with those major cities. In this, renovated just right around maybe over 40,000 renovations in my tenure here at Offerpad. 9 years this month coming up, which I'm pretty proud of. But what's been super exciting in all of this is about 2.5 years ago, our CEO came to me and said, "Hey, Bobby, I'd like to leverage this machine you've built. You've got hundreds of employees all over the country, thousands of trades contractors, national contracts on suppliers. We had a reputation of being the fastest at what we do, especially at scale." He's like, "I'd like to leverage that team of yours and begin to use it as a service for different REOs, single family renters, fix and flippers, the big REITs to the mom and pop shops and everything in between." And, 2.5 years later, it's been an awesome ride. One of my most favorite part of this, kind of echo Jimmy, what you're saying, is it's not just business development, it's relationships. You're making friends. You're truly feeling like you're leaving somebody better than we found it. And last year, I can show these stats because they're already public news, but last year we did 1,767 flips for investors, just like the people that are on this call. Our average days to complete was 14.73 days, and we serviced 33 different clients at that time. Pretty proud of that, because one of the things that I've learned, as we're talking about scaling here, there's 3 different ways to manage a renovation project as an investor. The first way is you can PM it yourself. The difference with that is you are going to have the highest level of accountability, but you are going to reduce your ability to go do the things that you probably feel like you're the best at, which is sourcing deals, getting on the phone and leveraging relationships, like everybody on this call. It's hard to do that when you're chasing down painters and you're running to Home Depot and you're talking with your PPG rep and wondering why the garage door guy didn't show up and how much is this pool going to cost. It's the most cost effective in the sense that, like, hey, you are free, but your time is not. The second way that you could project manage it, as you're trying to scale up your business as an investor, is hire a PM. And as somebody who's hired probably over 100 of them in my 10 years here at Offerpad, not all the time do you find the right guy. And making sure you have somebody that you trust and knows how you want it done and thinks like you think and is seeing the win for the win, like, that's a rare thing. And when you get them, you got to keep them. But here's the thing: the project managers that are good, they're expensive. So this might be the most expensive one, but this does allow you to go and help source the deals, continue to make relationships, leverage yourself, and scale your business. It just probably is the most expensive route on that. The third way, and this is kind of like what I want to talk about, what we've been doing for the last couple of years, is you could find somebody to partner with. Obviously, I'm not fully nationwide, just 25 markets, 15 states. But if we're in a market together where you're doing business, like, there's an opportunity for you to scale without having to go either leverage your time and manage it yourself, or leverage your cash flow and spend quite a bit of money to secure a project manager. Because here's like my core truth in all of this, guys. Like, I feel like, and Jimmy, you were saying this too, by having boots on the ground, like, accountability is only a reality for me when I have my own boots on the ground. Because here's the biggest thing that I've learned: pictures can lie. I will never be confused of being skinny in my life, and I don't care what angle I hold the lens or what filter I put on. I do not have a six-pack, but I could try to make it look like one, and we'd all know I'm a liar, right? That what's the tough part about this is pictures, though they're incredibly helpful, we use them every day. Investors use them. You got inspection reports, you name it. It all comes down to the person who's taking that picture. And if their highest point of investment is you, or it's themselves, you never know what you're going to get on a certain day. So we know pictures can lie, and AI still has not been able to smell yet, at least not in a way that's cost effective for anybody that's on this call. So the problem is with all of this is, if you're going to go hire your own boots on the ground, like, that can get expensive. What happens when you're trying to scale in multiple markets? What happens? And here's the bigger question. And this is honestly one of the main reasons why we ended up doing this, offering our renovation team as a service to private investors, is because volume flux. So say you in order to make a project manager cost effective in your ecosystem, you've got to do probably 10 to 15 deals a month to be able to have him or her pay for themselves. Well, what happens if you only source 2? Well, man, now you're asking questions like, man, do I need to let this person go? Can I afford to have them? And then how long do you expect them to be loyal to you if you know that you're not going to be loyal to them based on volume flux? What we have seen is the biggest solution to riding that volume wave without having the pressure of having to, keep people employed, keep people efficient, having them earn their keep, so to speak, is strategic partnerships. What we've been able to do, and my team, is allow people to really expand their deal flow, allow them to say yes to some flips or some single family rentals that maybe they would have said no to before, or maybe they would have just, ignored the opportunity because they didn't have the boots on the ground to do that. For me, like, we're helping people across the country take that question mark away out of the possibility of really doubling down on your own business. And we do that in a couple different ways, right? We preach all the time, control what you can control. And if you can't control what your deal flow is going to be, if you can't control what your volume is going to be, you can't control so many things that are in the market. What you can control is strategic partnerships. And for a lot of the people on here, Michael, like, we might be a perfect opportunity for people to have a partnership. We do this where we try to leave every property better than we found it. And they're my W-2 project managers that are out there. They're Offerpad employees. I've got renovation directors in each one of our states that are leveraging our relationships in market to help people. It's pretty interesting. I'll kind of go over the 3 different ways that, we really are helping partner alongside of people. The first one is a pressure relief valve, right? Say, Jimmy, you've got a couple deals in the pipeline. You like to manage them themselves. This is easy. But now you're wanting to do, deal 3, 4, and 5. And hey, your buddy Jeff from church or Mike from softball, like, he can only handle so many. So, hey, listen, I don't want to take anything away from what you've got going on, but I can help. We help a lot of people on a pressure relief valve. That way they feel like there's some sense of control and like they're just using us on the bigger projects that they can't do. The second way we help all the time is with market expansion. We're in all these markets already. We're renovating our own homes every month in those markets already. So, man, you have been wanting to say no to Charlotte or wanted to say yes, but you've been saying no to Charlotte forever, but now you don't have to because I'm there, or Las Vegas because I'm there, or Minneapolis, or Phoenix because I'm already there. We had a partner of ours who was doing Section 8 rentals in greater St. Louis metro area. So they were buying voucher-based potential properties, renovating them, getting them on the market for the voucher-based rental incentives. They went and raised a bunch of capital in Wall Street based on a partnership with us, saying that, like, hey, any place that Offerpad is renovating, we're going to start buying scattered site, voucher-based, targeted properties. And so now we've helped them renovate in Houston and in Nashville and in Atlanta and in Jacksonville and Indianapolis. Like, it's been so much fun just to see, like, man, they can take it beyond that. Some of the ways we're helping people expand markets are like, maybe they're only in a couple zip codes, but now they're wanting to go, half hour, hour outside of what their comfort zone is. We see that all the time. We just brought on a new client that's just outside of Cincinnati. And they were kind of at their capacity, new kids, and they've got 45 doors, and they're, wanting to go maybe an hour outside of where they typically were, but didn't have the relationships. Now they do. And it's pretty exciting. The third way that we honestly help people the most is consistency. I spend a lot of money on labor, material, and supplies, millions upon millions of dollars a year on that. And so what that affords me is volume-based incentives, volume-based pricing, and a what I call front of line loyalty to my trades that most people who are just doing onesie twosies unfortunately can't get, because in all of this, volume is the big X factor. If I'm able to have consistent volume, that buys me loyalty. And even if I'm doing it at a lower price range, like, people know that I'm consistent, I pay fast, I'm fair, they can make money, I can save money, it works great. So that's what we're able to bring to clients. Like, our pricing is already pre-negotiated in every single market that we're at. So when we partner with folks, we're able to give them, like, hey, here's how much it costs you to paint paint in your market. So you can know if I renovate this house with Offerpad, it's going to cost me X dollars a square foot every single time, and I get a consistent product, as opposed to like, hey, I call Bob's painting company, and this week he's in a good mood, and so the pricing is cheap, and next week he's got to make up for the bad deal he did last week, so now the pricing is double. With us, it's consistency, and then timelines are a big deal. One of the things when we talk about controlling what we can control, my biggest emphasis for my teams across the country is on speed and quality. If they call it the golden triangle of speed, quality, and cost, but you can only get 2 out of the 3. If I was a real estate investor, the thing that I would focus the most on was speed and quality, because honestly, you get what you pay for. And you might find somebody who's going to do it 1 or 2% cheaper, but then you got to manage him, and you don't know if he's going to show up, and what happens if he never calls you back and the job's not finished. We incentivize my teams across the country. We incentivize our vendors and our supplier relationships on speed and getting it done right the first time. Because if I can get a job done on budget and a couple days ahead of schedule, well, that's reducing holding costs, that's reducing HOA fees, that's reducing whatever your debt covenants are on that particular, who your lender is, hard money, or your own cash or whatever. And now it's reducing your time to market, it's reducing your time to lease, and potentially we're taking a small ROI and making it slightly bigger, or taking a break even and making it positive. And I've got a big time hero complex, and so do the guys on my team. So if we can ride in on the white horse and save the day, like, that makes us feel good, and it also makes your bottom line feel good. And this is what we end up doing. It's funny, we had a client, this is a little over 2 years ago, one of our first national clients, and I met with their executive vice president, and he was, he wanted to meet with me because he was hitting his head against the wall. His whole focus was on cost. How do I drive costs down? So he was getting what he was paid for, which was slow turn times. Nobody was showing up. We had so many move-in escalations based on product, that was getting put out. And I had a conversation with him, like, listen, I was 6% more expensive than what he wanted to pay. And I said, here's the deal, though. In my 6% more expensive, you're getting W-2 project managers, you're getting vendors that have been with me for years, you're getting renovation directors, you're getting administrative help. I said, give me 20 homes, and I think they were in 20 states. They were maybe even more than that. They're in more places than we were. I said, give me 20 homes. If I don't move the needle for you on speed and quality, which reduces all those things that are the massive headache to you, I'll shake your hand. I won't be offended. We'll go our separate ways. But if what I can do far outpaces that 6% you think you're saving, then I think we were onto something. We did almost 2,000 houses with them in 18 months. So, renovating and turning homes for them. And so what we've been really able to do is help bring that consistency, so that way their product, their brand, the homes that they're putting back into the community are something that they can honestly be proud of. It's wild. Like, we go around, it's my team that's doing the scope of work. We're using our volume pricing. We're the ones that are managing the project for you. At the end of the day, you get one single invoice from us, which is great. So you're not having to pay the roofer, the painter, the pool guy, the landscape guy, the finished carpenter. We've got a detailed, itemized scope of work. It's all in there. And that was kind of been a huge blessing to so many people around the country. I know for us, like, I'm excited when I get to see folks like really feel the impact of what we're doing. And so I want to throw this little QR code up there for anybody. If anyone's interested in scheduling a one-on-one with me, this will get right to our scheduling platform, or there's an email address there, renovate@offerpad.com. Like, as you're expanding into these new markets, as you're sourcing these new deals and finding these new buyers, and you've got an acquisition and a disposition platform and a plan in place just because of these guys right here on this call. Like, but the middle piece that feels so much like a question mark, I'd love to talk with you. Well, let's see if we might be the right kind of solution for you. And and if you've got questions or emails there, don't hesitate to fire them off to us. And Michael, I hope that was helpful for your viewers. And
it was incredibly helpful. And it's, I get those initial stats you put up, I thought were really important, because I remember you came on our podcast, Deal Nation, a couple months back. And me being a rookie, I said, oh, so this is great. People can work with you, and they can, what is it, like a month, 2, get those renovations done? And you were like, pump the brakes, Junior. Month? No. We're talking about days. And I said, days? Really? But like that ability to lock up imagine locking up a project like your portfolio building. You lock up a project on October 1st. The renovations are done on October 15th. It's furnished and stage ready by October 22nd, and you have a renter in by November 1st. Like that's insane, right? Like the speed of turnaround and the ability to like get a project stood up without those kind of money suck months in between, incredible. And then you just gave a reference of doing 20 houses, right? So imagine like you get to a point of scale where like you're actually not just portfolio starting, but portfolio scaling, and having that tool in place. That's an incredible resource to be able to have.
Yeah, we give everybody, and that was on average, you know what I mean? So some of those were significantly longer than 2 weeks and some were significantly shorter, but we say we have a metric called DPT, or days per thousand spend. So for every $1,000 in approved spend, I've got a day or less to get it done. And I've got the data of 40,000 plus renovations to prove that I'm nothing if I'm not consistent. And in some of our markets, we're significantly faster than a day per thousand. And so it allows you to make what it's called an informed underwrite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know what the consistency is there.
So guys, we're up against the hour here. But if you guys have an extra 5 minutes or so to stick around,
sure.
Say let's Q&A each other. For everybody listening, like of course, pop your questions into the chat. We'll get to them. But I mean, you guys are such pillars in the industry yourselves, and we've got a lot of interesting solutions talked about here today. So I'd love to just have y'all throw some questions out to each other and see where that kind of conversation takes us.
Yeah, I got one to just piggyback off Bobby's, because we flipped a decent amount of houses, and for the most part, Bobby, people are going to be hiring their own GC or their own PM, like flippers out there that have a real business that are doing deals. But what you don't realize when you get into that is, you expect it to be entirely hands off, that the GC is going to handle the subs, that they're going to handle the timeline, that they're going to handle this and handle that. There are so many misconceptions with that. Like, one, you have to manage the manager, the GC, because he is working not just for you, but for multiple other investors. Yeah. And like, the longer you let that leash go, the next deal is going to be longer, and the next deal is going to be longer, and the next deal is going to be longer. And for the most part, 99% of GCs are dudes. So if you don't have like a designer that's coming in, more often than not, it's Ricky Bob who's going to pick the paint or pick the countertops. And in a market as challenging that we're in right now, where there's higher inventory, there's days on market is much higher. You have to set yourself apart as far as some of the design slate. And so just I wanted to highlight some of that, because like you still have to manage the manager, and you still have to pick out so much stuff. So the amount of time that you actually save with y'all, especially when you're doing it in 14 days, like 14 days is ridiculous. Like, I don't know how they'll do that, but I just want
I'm pretty proud of it. What's really cool is like, so our team at Offerpad, we've got a gray scheme, a white scheme, and a tan scheme. It all matches the 2 carpets and 2 LVPs that we have pre-negotiated. It matches the countertops that we have in stock. And somebody way smarter with better taste than me already figured out what works best in the market. So we just take your home, Jimmy or Daniel, and like we say, hey, here's our recommendation, because we're trying to help you make the best real estate decision on the project. It's not burgers, fries, and shakes, just slap an agreeable gray on every single thing. You know what I mean? That looks dumb. Trying to figure out like, hey, if we're keeping these natural honey oak cabinets because we're in the Midwest and this is normal, it might be better to come with our tan color or our white color in there and make it look like it's on purpose. The good news is, I wouldn't say it's like fully customizable, but it's like you could say, Daniel, hey, I'd like the white walls, and can you put black fixtures and quart stops? Great. Boom. We can do that. Here's our version of what we have. We've already negotiated the prices, and it's already in stock in all of our warehouses. So like, you don't have to worry about chasing it down. So that part works. You know what I mean? Cuts out some of that back and forth time in the 53 trips to Home Depot.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. It's not really a question because Bobby already answered it, but I just want to highlight 2 things that Bobby's got going on that I think is so helpful, and that's obviously the design scheming and like the help with that. Because when I started in this business, over a decade ago, I started out as like a sales agent for New Western. And so I was finding investors, helping them find deals, like, taking pride in trying to help them actually be successful in their flip so that they would come back to me for more inventory, those kind of things. And one thing that I always would recognize is that, a lot of times investors that were getting in and starting to try to flip deals, they wanted to put their own stamp on it, and they wanted to go so grandiose with some of these rehabs. And I would always say, hey, like, let's take a look at some of the comps and what they're doing, but that's already all built in with you guys already. And you already have it like lined up, and you're just like, hey, this is what's going to work in your market, everything like that. I think that is a huge benefit that may go unrecognized with people simply going with y'all over somebody else to get a deal done. And then obviously the second thing I wanted to talk on was what we're already kind of all tripping on is the timeline. That 14 days on average is nuts. Like, I mean, anybody who's flipped deals before, who has flipped a property before, knows exactly what Daniel was talking about, where the GCs, it's never on time. A fun story is the reason 2 weeks stood out to me. I flipped some deals with some buddies years ago, and I was kind of more hands off with it because I was doing some of this stuff over here on this side, but just kind of pitching in and doing some flips and things like that. And I called my buddy and, hey, how much more time do we have? And it was always, oh, we're 2 weeks out. We're 2 weeks out. We're 2 weeks out. And it was never 2 weeks out. And so it's just funny to think if we'd have been with you guys, then we'd have actually been 2 weeks out. So that's awesome, Bobby. You guys are killing it.
Well, thanks, man. Well, here's my question for you guys. So I constantly will have new clients, Daniel and I, we've been a part of a couple different masterminds, and, we have new clients. And lately I've had the privilege of speaking on a lot of podcasts like Michael's and some conferences. Like I'll be in Dallas next week. I'll be here in Tampa next week as well. And when I get new clients that come to me, that come for the renovation services, but a lot of times they're either new investors or they're, just starting to scale. Like what's the 30-second elevator speech that I can give to them or to hand them off and say, like, no, here's where you need to look for your buyers. Here's where you need to know for your acquisition and disposition strategy. Like, how can I do the better handoff for my new clients who maybe are looking for partners just like you guys?
Daniel, I'll let you go since I just spoke.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so for us, it's one click of a button. We're going to identify every single person who's actually done a deal. Or, you pick up the phone and you call them, right? It's pretty simple. Now, with us, it's not you click a button, your deal's sold, right? That is with Jimmy and them essentially. So like literally Jimmy and them buy so many houses that you can send them a deal and they will make you an offer, because they buy so many, for more often than not, right, Jimmy?
Yeah.
With us, you have to do a little bit of work, but we're taking what historically has been an 8-step process and breaking that down in one click of a button. So, Bobby, I'll work on my elevator pitch next time for you. I can send you one.
Well, I'll just hop in on that, Bobby. And Daniel, I want to pump the brakes a little bit with the expectation. Like things I tell people all the time. Obviously, we're not 100%. You send me a deal, I'm going to get it moved for you. But we do move a ton. But where we really try to help out is building that relationship and getting a better understanding of the market for you. And so, Bobby, you can send anybody my way. Like I tell people bringing us deals all the time. I'll give an example. Since we've talked about wholesalers, we've talked about investors on here. We have agents that bring us deals, and I tell them all the time when they bring me a deal, I say, hey, look, I'm either going to get the buyer, I'm going to get you a cash buyer for this thing, marketing it on my marketplace, because we're going to exemplify your listing through our marketplace. But if I can't, at the very least, I'm going to get you the feedback in real time of what the market's speaking to on that deal. So that you can make the pivot as a wholesaler, as an agent, as a seller, as an investor, maybe trying to come out of a deal that, you feel like maybe you got over leveraged on or whatever, and you're just trying to offload that thing. We're going to give you if we can't get a buyer lined up, we're going to get you the feedback very quickly. On average, I would say 24, 48 hours, we'll know if we're going to have a buyer lined up for it, because we work in such a high volume that things can get lost in translation if we don't move quickly.
Yeah.
So if you come to me with a deal, I'm either going to, like Daniel said, you're going to have a buyer automatically in the market that's lined up, ready to go, locked in, or B, you're sacrificing maybe 48 hours of your time to get the feedback in real time of what the market is speaking to. So
that's good work. Well, I'm excited to help make some connections for you both. It'll be awesome. We'll keep sending your way.
Cool. Right on. Love it.
All right, gentlemen. I really appreciate you all coming on. I'm going to close it off in the live stream. Just hang on for just a second, and we'll post chat once it closes down. All right.